It's often ranked as the world's busiest airport, but Hong Kong's runways aren't seeing much action. Since recording its first case of the Omicron variant last month, the territory has banned visitors from 60 countries deemed to be high risk, including 12 in Africa. Meanwhile, scientists at this hospital say they're the first in Asia to isolate the variant after analysing samples from local Omicron patients. Dr. Kelvin To and his team are measuring its resistance to vaccines and whether it's more contagious than other variants. That's a source of concern because the first Omicron cases in Hong Kong were transmitted in a hotel between travellers who never met.
One of the postulations is that when one of the, especially the index case, opened the door, the virus got spread into the corridor. And because the air is not flowing too well in the corridor, so it stays in that position. And then when the other person or the victim opens his door and get his food or whatever, then he may breathe it in. And we believe if this is really occurring, then this is airborne transmission. And if a virus is airborne, that means it can transmit more easily.
The team is working with drug makers in China to develop new vaccines that can specifically target Omicron. Hong Kong has been relying on strict immigration and quarantine rules to keep itself insulated from COVID-19. But economic pressures are now mounting for the territory to reopen its borders, and the government says the number one priority is the Chinese mainland. Cross-border quarantine-free travel is expected to resume in the next few weeks. China has yet to record any Omicron cases, boosting public confidence in the country's health policies.
Almost everyone wears masks, and public disinfection, prevention and control efforts are also in place.
Omicron sounds like a serious variant, but I still think that as long as everyone takes care of themselves, we can do a good job to protect society.
The Beijing government is also confident that Omicron won't affect the Winter Olympics in February. It's ramping up testing procedures and athlete isolation measures to make sure the Games can go ahead safely. There's much more caution in Japan. Newly appointed Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has closed the country's borders to all foreigners. That's being seen as a reaction to criticism his predecessor faced for acting too slowly over COVID-19 concerns. There's also political pressure in India. These were the scenes in hospitals earlier this year as COVID-19 cases surged across the country amid a wave of the Delta variant. Health authorities say they have measures in place to stop that happening again.
We've learned from our mistakes. We're not as unprepared as we were during the second wave. Since the Omicron variant could push up hospitalizations, we've ramped up the number of beds and ventilators available. We're also keeping 3 times the daily oxygen we need on standby.
India has recorded more than 20 Omicron cases, prompting the government to impose its strictest ever travel rules. Like many other countries in the region, it's hoping that short-term action can prevent Omicron from derailing its longer-term pandemic recovery. Richard Kimber, SABC News, Hong Kong.